If we were to compress the timeline of human civilization into a single day, for 23 long hours, all our ancestors held in their hands was cold, hard stone, until one day a campfire inadvertently melted a special piece of ore. A warm, reddish liquid that once cooled revealed a toughness and luster that stone never possessed. From that moment on, the destiny of humanity was rewritten forever. Few people know that elemental copper was actually not born on Earth, but was the product of a massive star's supernova explosion at the end of its life billions of years ago. In that cataclysmic cosmic event, intense nuclear fusion forged copper atoms, which drifted and coalesced with nebular dust, eventually becoming part of our planet's crust. This metal possesses a color reminiscent of a red sunset. In China, we call it purple copper or red copper. In English, it is known as copper. It was the first metal that humanity truly learned to smelt and use. As far back as 6,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, people documented copper's miraculous properties in the medical text. The Ebers Papyrus, applying copper powder to wounds prevented decay, and drinking water stored in copper vessels remained fresh and clear for a long time. Although ancients didn't understand the microscopic science, they intuitively discovered copper's natural antibacterial and antimicrobial abilities. From the copper razor in the hand of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh to the 9 tripod cauldrons symbolizing royal power in China's Shang and Zhou dynasties, from the anti-corrosive copper sheeting on the bottoms of wooden warships during the Age of Discovery to every single wire driving artificial intelligence and new energy vehicles today. This ancient element has never exited the stage of history. It is not merely an industrial raw material, but a participant and witness in the evolution of civilization. It shaped humanity's understanding of matter, built the prototype of early international trade, supported the backbone of 2 industrial revolutions, and even today remains the economic bellwether known as Dr. Copper in global financial markets. What miraculous physical and chemical secrets are hidden within this metal? How did it weave through the rise and fall of Eastern and Western civilizations? And how will it continue to govern our future? Today, let us follow this light of red gold that has shone for thousands of years and unveil the epic story of copper and human civilization. To understand the significance of copper to humanity, we must first dive down into the microscopic world of atoms. On the periodic table, copper holds the 29th position with the chemical symbol Cu. If you observe the atomic structure of copper under a microscope, you will find that its outermost shell has only a single free electron that easily breaks away. It is precisely this restless free electron that forms a sea of freely swimming electron clouds within the microscopic lattice. When voltage is applied, this electron cloud flows seamlessly in a directed stream, endowing pure copper with nearly stunning electrical and thermal conductivity. Among all common metals in nature, its electrical conductivity ranks second only to expensive silver. In international electrical standards, the conductivity of high-purity annealed copper was directly established as the 100% IACS standard, becoming the benchmark used to measure the performance of all conductors. Furthermore, modern biology has unlocked the secret behind the ancient practice of purifying water in copper containers, copper's unique contact-killing mechanism. When bacteria or viruses land on a copper surface, copper releases trace amounts of copper ions. These ions act like microscopic artillery shells, penetrating the bacterial cell membrane, disrupting its respiratory system and completely destroying its internal DNA. Even drug-resistant superbugs cannot survive on a copper surface for more than 2 hours. This has revitalized copper's use in modern hospital door handles, public touchscreens, and sterile medical equipment. High-purity copper, due to its reddish-purple surface, is commonly referred to in Chinese industry as purple copper or red copper. Purple copper is extremely pure, typically having a copper content over 99.9%. It is soft and remarkably ductile. A single gram of pure copper can be drawn into a wire 2 kilometers long. However, being too soft is also its fatal flaw. Swords forged from pure copper would bend and deform after striking a few times. To overcome this weakness, ancient metallurgists inadvertently sparked a revolution in materials science, fusing other metals into pure copper. This alchemy inside the furnace gave birth to the renowned 4 families of copper. First to make its entrance is bronze. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin or lead. The melting point of pure copper is a staggering 1083 degrees Celsius, 1981 degrees Fahrenheit, which was extremely difficult to melt in ancient times. However, adding just 15% tin drops the alloy's melting point drastically to around 900 degrees Celsius, 1652 degrees Fahrenheit. Even more miraculously, larger tin atoms wedge into the lattice, disrupting the orderly arrangement of pure copper atoms and preventing lattice slip, making bronze several times harder than pure copper. Additionally, bronze expands ever so slightly as it cools and solidifies, allowing it to perfectly fill the finest engravings in a mold. The second member is brass. Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc, named for its brilliant golden yellow appearance. Brass is not only wear-resistant and mechanically strong, but it also boasts incredible acoustic properties. Most of the French horns, trumpets, saxophones, and other wind instruments you hear today are crafted from brass. Furthermore, adding trace amounts of lead or aluminum to brass dramatically improves its machinability. From plumbing valves and mechanical gears to lock components, it accounts for nearly all precision mechanical connectors in modern life. The third member is cupronickel, relatively lesser known yet formidable in performance. Cupronickel is a copper alloy with nickel as its main added element. The addition of nickel strips away copper's reddish-yellow color, endowing it with a cool, silver-like luster. Cupronickel's most formidable trait is its corrosion resistance. When exposed to harsh chemical reagents and high-salinity seawater, cupronickel forms an extremely dense protective film. As a result, condenser pipes in modern shipbuilding, desalination equipment, high-end medical devices, and coins in many nations all rely on cupronickel. Finally, there is a stealth assassin hidden in specialized industries, beryllium copper. Adding trace amounts of beryllium to copper, followed by heat treatment, can boost its tensile strength to levels rivaling high-strength alloy steels. Even more remarkably, when tools made of beryllium copper endure heavy impact, they produce absolutely no sparks. Consequently, in volatile environments like oil refineries, underground coal mines, ammunition depots, and critical spring components of spacecraft, beryllium copper stands as an irreplaceable non-sparking safety guard. From the extreme conductivity of pure copper to the hard malleability of bronze, from the acoustics and machinability of brass to the corrosion resistance of cupronickel and the high-strength, non-sparking nature of beryllium copper, by partnering with different elements, copper completed its magnificent metamorphosis from a single metal to a versatile material, setting a solid stage for the millennia of human civilization that followed. If we examine history from a global perspective, we find that copper was the first true catalyst of globalization in human history. In 1991, deep within the glaciers of the Alps, researchers discovered a 5,300-year-old mummy frozen in ice. Otzi the Iceman. Among his gear, the most eye-catching item was a high-purity copper axe with a wooden handle. This axe proclaimed an era. Humanity had officially entered the Chalcolithic, or Copper Age. As people learned to add tin to copper, the Bronze Age erupted. Yet geographically, nature played a cruel joke. Copper and tin deposits were scattered across opposite ends of continents, rarely coexisting. In the Mediterranean region around 2000 BCE, to forge a proper bronze sword, copper had to be mined from the island of Cyprus. The English word copper originates from Cyprus's Latin name, cuprum. Meanwhile, the tin indispensable for bronze making lay thousands of kilometers away in the mountains of Afghanistan, or required crossing the English Channel to mine in the British Isles. The Uluburun shipwreck, discovered off the coast of Turkey in 1982, reconstructed that epic trade history for us. From this merchant ship that sank in the 14th century BCE, archaeologists recovered 10 tons of Cypriot oxide copper ingots and 1 ton of pure tin ingots. 10 tons of copper paired with 1 ton of tin, exactly the golden 10-to-1 ratio for casting standard bronze. To gather the ingredients for this recipe, ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Hittites, and Mycenaean civilizations forged the first international maritime trade network in human history. Thriving bronze trade brought wealth as well as cultural exchange. Yet a civilization so heavily reliant on supply chains proved extraordinarily fragile. Around 1200 BCE, as the Sea Peoples invaded, Mediterranean trade routes were severed, cutting off tin supplies. Massive Bronze Age empires collapsed en masse within just a few decades, a phenomenon known as the Late Bronze Age collapse. This supply chain disruption even forced humanity to accelerate its transition into the Iron Age. Shifting focus to the Roman Empire, demand for copper reached industrial scales. The Rio Tinto copper mine in modern-day Spain served as the metallic beating heart of the Roman Empire. The Romans engineered vast and intricate water wheel systems and excavated hundreds of kilometers of subterranean mine shafts, continuously transporting tens of thousands of tons of copper to the imperial capital. There, it formed the bedrock of Roman legion equipment and their extensive monetary system. On the other side of the ocean in the east, Chinese civilization carved out a completely different path with bronze. Bronze in Western Eurasia was predominantly crafted into forged weaponry, human sculptures, and everyday tools. In contrast, ancestors in China's Shang and Zhou dynasties elevated bronze smelting technology to the pinnacle of artistry and philosophy. Departing from Western hammering techniques, Chinese craftsmen pioneered unparalleled piece mold casting and lost wax casting. In the eyes of Shang and Zhou rulers, bronze was no ordinary metal, but Jijin, auspicious metal, a sacred vessel bridging heaven and earth, anchoring the soul. The colossal Homuwu Ding reflected the immovable weight of the state. The Sang-Singduai bronze sacred tree and protruding-eyed masks mirrored fantastical imaginations of the cosmos and gods. And the Marquise Yi of Zheng bronze chime bells from the Warring States period stood as a supreme masterpiece of ancient acoustics, physics, and materials science. By precisely controlling the ternary ratio of copper, tin, and lead, ancient artisans achieved the acoustic marvel of 2 tones per bell on an oval bell body. Striking the front and side yielded 2 distinct, perfectly pitched musical notes. Ancient Chinese ancestors imbued bronze with political order, musical art, and religious faith, shaping a unique bronze ritual and music civilization. Idioms surviving to this day, such as contending for the ding, aspiring for supreme power, a promise worth 1,000 gold, and chimes ringing, dings dining, describing opulent nobility, are genetic imprints left to Chinese civilization by that Bronze Age. Turning our gaze to the pre-Columbian Americas, isolated from Eurasia, indigenous peoples around North America's Great Lakes discovered abundant native copper, requiring no smelting. Using stone hammers, they pounded these raw copper nuggets into delicate fishhooks, darts, and ornaments. Meanwhile, in South America's Inca Empire, artisans mastered copper smelting using blowpipes to intensify furnace heat, combining copper with gold and silver to create breathtaking palace decorations. By 17th century Europe, the fallen copper mine in Sweden became the economic heart of the continent. Amassing immense wealth through copper exports, Sweden surged into a European superpower, even minting massive copper plate money weighing up to 15 kilograms, 33 pounds. During the same era in the East, Ming and Qing dynasty China maintained a vast grassroots economy anchored on a copper coin standard. Foreign copper imported from Nagasaki, Japan, poured into China along the maritime Silk Road, minted into hundreds of millions of square-holed coins that sustained the daily livelihoods of countless households. Whether ritual vessels in temples or copper coins in bustling marketplaces, the radiance of this red gold has long been deeply etched into the fabric of human civilization. If the Bronze Age forged humanity's ancient civilizations, then, as the wheels of history turned into the 19th century, copper directly ignited the engine of modern civilization. In 1831, British physicist Michael Faraday held a copper disc and a magnet, discovering the world-shaking phenomenon of electromagnetic induction. This breakthrough permanently altered human destiny. People suddenly realized, by drawing copper into wire and winding it into coils, it could convert mechanical energy into electricity, or electricity into mechanical power. The electrical age arrived with a roar, yet in the dawn of electrification, humanity suffered a painful setback. In 1858, engineers attempted to lay the first transatlantic telegraph cable connecting Europe and North America. However, the cable paralyzed completely after only a few weeks of transmission. Physicist Lord Kelvin, William Thomson, investigated and uncovered the culprit, copper purity. Primitive smelting techniques had left trace impurities of arsenic and iron in the wire. A mere 1% impurity caused copper's electrical conductivity to plummet by over 40%. This disaster directly birthed modern quality control systems for electrical materials, establishing high-purity electrolytic copper as an unyielding industrial standard. When Thomas Edison built the world's first central power plant, it consumed tons of high-purity copper coils. When the transatlantic cable was successfully relayed, it was wrapped around thousands of tons of copper cores. Copper became the electrical aorta, transmitting energy and information. Without copper, there would be no electric motors, no generators, no transformers, and no global power grids. It is no exaggeration to say that every single light gleaming in the night sky of a modern city is illuminated by copper behind the scenes. Entering the electronic information age, copper's stage did not shrink. Instead, it extended into an even more microscopic realm. On integrated circuits and printed circuit boards, PCBs, ultra-thin copper foil forms the highways along which electronic signals race at high speeds. From the smartphone in your hand to chip packaging in supercomputers, copper remains an irreplaceable foundation. To continuously supply this metal, modern mining pushes extraction to the limits of Earth itself. At the Escondida copper mine deep in Chile's Atacama Desert, humans carved out one of the largest open-pit craters on the planet. As high-grade surface ore was depleted, industry turned to mining low-grade ore with copper concentrations of just 4.5%, meaning 200 tons of rock must be crushed and processed through flotation and electrolysis to extract a single ton of pure copper. Because copper permeates every corner of industrial manufacturing and infrastructure, it earned a prominent and unique moniker in high finance. Dr. Copper. This is an honorific title Wall Street bestows upon no other metal. Financial analysts frequently remark, you don't have to believe economists' forecasts, but you must trust Dr. Copper's diagnosis. Why? Because copper's applications are vast beyond measure. Manufacturing a car requires roughly 20 kilograms, 44 pounds of copper. Wiring a home requires 200 kilograms, 440 pounds, and building a factory demands tens of tons. Whether in real estate, home appliance manufacturing, power infrastructure, or transportation, copper serves as the paramount raw material. When the global economy booms, factories roar to life, and skyscrapers rise, copper demand surges and prices skyrocket. Conversely, should the economy slip into recession and industry stall, copper prices plummet off a cliff first. On the trading screens of the London Metal Exchange and Chicago Mercantile Exchange, those undulating copper price curves resemble a real-time electrocardiogram of the global economy's most sensitive pulse. Some have questioned, in this 21st century of rapidly evolving carbon fiber, semiconductors, and synthetic plastics, shouldn't copper, an ancient metal used for thousands of years, finally retire? The answer is quite the opposite. In the emerging era of green energy and AI, humanity's reliance on copper has not diminished. It is experiencing an unprecedented boom. Consider these striking figures. A traditional gasoline-powered vehicle uses around 20 kilograms of copper, mostly concentrated in wire harnesses. In contrast, a pure electric vehicle demands over 80 kilograms, a quadrupling in copper use, due to extensive battery interconnections, electric drive motors, and charging equipment. In wind and solar power generation, copper consumption per megawatt of installed capacity is 3 to 6 times that of traditional fossil fuels. Every towering offshore wind turbine and every solar array blanketing the desert consumes vast quantities of copper. Even more unexpectedly, the explosion of AI is becoming a brand new engine for copper demand. Inside compute data centers powering large language models, tens of thousands of high-performance GPU chips run concurrently. Their immense power consumption generates staggering heat. To prevent chips from burning out, highly conductive pure copper cold plates and high-speed copper cables have become standard equipment. Compared to fiber optics prone to signal attenuation, copper cables offer ultra-low latency over short-distance, high-frequency transmissions while simultaneously delivering power. Just as silicon forms AI's brain, copper forms the nerves, blood vessels, and cooling lungs, sustaining AI's operation. Furthermore, on the quest for ultimate energy, copper continues to play the role of guardian. In the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, the artificial sun built in France, powerful superconducting magnets contain plasma heated to over 100 million degrees Celsius. Wrapped inside these superconducting coils are large quantities of high-purity copper. Should a quench occur and superconductivity unexpectedly fail, the highly conductive copper matrix instantly absorbs and diverts massive current surges, preventing a multi-hundred-million-dollar fusion device from melting down in an instant. Even in handling humanity's most hazardous nuclear waste, copper demonstrates near-miraculous stability. When constructing deep geological repositories, Sweden and Finland made a bold decision: seal highly radioactive nuclear waste in 5-centimeter thick pure copper canisters and bury them in granite bedrock 500 meters underground. Scientists calculated that utilizing copper's near-zero corrosion in oxygen-free deep underground conditions, these canisters will silently guard the waste for 100,000 years until radioactivity completely decays, an ancient metal's ultimate pledge to humanity's future. Facing such colossal demand, will humanity confront a crisis of copper resource depletion? This brings us to the final miracle: copper grants us infinite recycling. Unlike many materials that vanish or degrade severely after consumption, copper is 100% recyclable, suffering zero degradation in physical or chemical properties, even after being remelted and reused countless times. Statistics show that over 2/3 of all copper ever mined in human history remains in active service today in various forms. Perhaps a microscopic wire inside the smartphone you hold right now was once a bronze dagger at a Sumerian's waist thousands of years ago, a copper coin circulating in a Qing dynasty market centuries ago. And centuries from now, it may well race through the magnetic coils of a nuclear fusion reactor deep across the ocean. From the supernova explosions in the depths of the cosmos to the accidental solidification in a campfire, from the majestic ritual vessels of Shang and Zhou civilizations to the electric thunder of the Industrial Revolution, from the endless waves of the Age of Discovery to the surging compute of the digital age and artificial intelligence. Copper, this warm reddish metal, weaves together the past, present, and future of human civilization with its subtle shine. It not only records the wisdom and faith of our ancestors, but quietly continues to propel every step humanity takes toward the stars. This is the miracle of red gold. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Decoding Everything. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.